viduhu ratri tam teho ratra vido janaha. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together form the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. Text number 18. Avyakta tyaktayah sarvaha pavavanti ahar agame ratriya agame praliyante tatraiva vyakta samajnake. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. At the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest from the unmanifest state, and thereafter, when the night falls, they are merged into the unmanifest again. Text number 19. Bhutakramaha sa evayam bhutva praliyate ratriya agame vashah partha prabhavati ahar agame. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Again and again, when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being, and with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated. Om Ajnanatilgrantasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshur Mudam Ina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we see here in this subject chapter entitled Attaining the Supreme. Here, Lord Krishna is explaining to Arjuna about the lifespan of Brahma, and how it relates to our lifespan, and how it is related to lifespan of living entities in the spiritual world also. So we go to the first sloka of today, that is text number 17. He says, by human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together form the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. So we all have a lifespan. Normally it is said that it is 100 years, but in Kali Yuga it is less than that also. But we have a day, we have a night, we have 24 hours, which comprises of day and night, and we also have 365 days in a year, and we also have assuming that our lifespan is 100 years. So this is our lifespan, human beings, not lifespan of other living entities, but mainly human beings. Now, the lifespan of those in the higher planetary system are considered to be different. For example, 6 months of ours is like a day in the heavenly planets, and similarly 6 months of ours is like a night in the heavenly planets. Now here we see where Srila Prabhupada is giving an explanation of lifespan of Brahma. Now Brahma has a day also, and he also has a night, and it is calculated or known as Kalpa. Now Kalpa is the day of Brahma, and one day of Brahma consists of 1,000 cycles of 4 yugas, that is Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. Now, the cycle of Satya Yuga is characterized by virtue, wisdom, and religion. And there being practically no ignorance and vice, the Yuga lasts for 17,28,000 years. The next is Treta Yuga. The Treta Yuga, little bit of vice is introduced, and because vice is introduced, the lifespan also is less. And this Yuga lasts for 12,96,000 years. In the Dwapara Yuga, there is even greater decline in virtue and religion, and vice is increasing. And this Yuga lasts for 8,64,000 years. And finally, in Kali Yuga, where we are in today, we are all in Kali Yuga, this Yuga lasts for 4,32,000 years, and there is an abundance of strife, irreligion, ignorance, and vice. And true virtue is practically non-existent. You will generally not find people who are in the mode of goodness, who speak truth, and generally Kali Yuga is full of faults. We get easily illusion. Our senses are imperfect. We are likely to be cheated, and we are likely to cheat others also. So all these imperfections are there to the fullest extent in Kali Yuga. And we see that the lifespan has also, the total yuga of this Kali is also reduced to 4,32,000 years. At the end of Kali Yuga, the situation becomes so abominable that the Supreme Lord himself has to come. He appears himself as Kalki Avatara, and he appears to vanquish the demons and tries to, he saves his devotees. And thereafter, another cycle of Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga starts. So one cycle of Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga is one cycle. And it is said that, Shastras say that 1,000 such cycles comprise one day of Brahma. One day of Brahma. And 1,000 such cycles of Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga comprise one night of Brahma. So like this, we have Brahma's lifespan also here consisting of one day and one night. He also has 30 days in a month, and he also has 365 days in a year. And his lifespan is estimated to be 100 years based on these calculations. So this process goes on and goes on and goes on. And these four yugas rotating 1,000 times. That means if we rotate the Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga 1,000 times, that comprises one day of Brahma. And the same comprises one night, and that is called one kalpa. And Brahma lives 100 of such years, and then Brahma also has to die because he's also a living entity in this material world. So as you all know, those who take birth in this material world, they go through 4 cycles, that is birth, death, old age, and disease. The Brahma also has to die. So by earthly calculations of these 100 years of Brahma, it comes to 311 trillion and 40 billion earth years. So we can imagine what is the lifespan of Brahma. So by these calculations, the Brahma's lifespan seems to be very fantastic and very long, but actually it is said that from viewpoint of eternity means there is no birth and there is no death. It is as brief as a lightning flash. That means the sloka clearly explained that there is a place where there is no birth and death also, which will come to. But in the material world, how the creation takes place is mentioned here. In one corner, now, the spiritual world is covered by something called Brahman effulgence, which is called Brahma Jyoti. So in one corner of that Brahma Jyoti, there is something called Mahat Tattva, which is the sum total of all the material ingredients. So as you all know by now, that all the living entities who have come to this material world have a desire to enjoy something separately from the Lord. The Lord has given minute independence, but we want to use that minute independence to enjoy separately from the Lord because the Lord is very, very opulent. And we have developed a desire that I must have an opulence like the Lord, or I must enjoy as much as the Lord. That desire to enjoy separately from the Lord becomes the cause of our taking birth in this material world. And once we take birth in this material world, what happens is that we go through so many species of life, 84 lakh species of life. And after a long cycle, we come to a stage where we get a human form of life. And it is only in this human form of life that we can understand what is a life, that life is a struggle in this material world, going through the 4 cycles of birth, death, old age, and disease. That means whoever takes birth, he also dies. And there is also a symptom of old age that we all go through in this human form of life. And most of us, as you all know, it's very difficult to see a person who is not diseased. Most of them have got some other disease. In fact, the Kali Yuga's living conditions have so degraded in the last couple of years itself that right from the childhood, people have got some other disease. Children are forced to wear glasses because their vision is very poor, hearing power is less, intelligence is very less. So all these are mentioned in the Shastras, the degraded stage of Kali Yuga. So one can imagine what will be the condition as Kali Yuga progresses. And the 11th and 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam mentions as to what will be the situation at the end of Kali Yuga, where things would have got so degraded that lifespan will be reduced to 20 years. The height of living entities may be 1 feet. No food to eat. Human beings might eat their own children, so forth. All these things are predicted, and it is not that they are not happening. In Satyuga, when vice was less, people were living very healthy because they were all religious minded. And then as Satyuga went off and next came Tirtha Yuga, vices started increase. Vice was introduced. Like the age also got reduced, lifespan also got reduced. Otherwise, people used to say in Satyuga they used to live for 100,000 of years. And as Treta Yuga came, they used to live for 10,000 years. In Satya Yuga, people used to perform meditation, tapasya, and all these for 50,000 years, 60,000 years, and all. But as Treta Yuga came, the lifespan also got reduced to 10,000 years, and people used to still be somewhat religious, though some vices were introduced. But then, as Dwapara Yuga came, much more vice was introduced, and the lifespan of human beings got reduced to 1,000 years, and people were a lot irreligious. But as Kali Yuga came, it has totally degraded, which we see today. People don't want to know even about God. People are so much egoistic to think that they are all in all. That is because of their false ego. The ego has gone to that extent that they think that everyone thinks that everything is themselves, that is I, and whatever they see belongs to them, that is mine. So this I and mine is a very predominant this thing in the age of Kali Yuga. And people have resorted to wrong means of earning their livelihood, cheating people and all. That is where their lifespan has also come down and will be coming down further and further as Kali Yuga progresses. So when the Lord feels that now it is the time for every living entity to be given an opportunity to enjoy what they had a desire, these are also set at a particular time period. Then the Lord feels that this is the time for them to enjoy. The Lord as Mahavishnu. This expansion of Mahavishnu is also an expansion of the expansion of the expansion, because it's along this thing. Lord Krishna expands as Balaram, from Balaram he expands to Sankarsh. 4 quadruplet Vasudeva, Sankarshna, Pratyumna, Aniruddha. He expands like this twice, and again from the second Sankarshna, the Lord further expands as Sri Mahavishnu. And he lies in an ocean of causes. Like we have a ocean of water, there is an ocean of causes, and there he lies down, known as Karnadaka Sahib Vishnu. That is Sri Mahavishnu. And there, from his exhaling, when the Lord as Mahavishnu exhales, innumerable number of bubbles come out from the pores of his body, and they all gradually grow in size and they become one universe. So imagine, like we sweat, Mahavishnu also sweats, and each and every drop of that sweat expands into bubbles, and they form one universe, and they grow in size also. So this is how, when the material creation takes place, Mahavishnu becomes the cause of this. Bubbles become each and every bubble becomes one universe, and they all vary in size. They all vary into their composition, and they all vary in terms of living entities also. So, and then what happens that Mahavishnu himself further expands as Sri Garbhodakasaya Vishnu, and he lies in an ocean of Garbhodaka water. That's why he's known as Garbhodakasaya Vishnu. And he enters into each and every universe as the super soul. Like our body is sustaining because the soul has entered into our body. The moment the soul leaves, the body has no value, it has no meaning at all. So the soul is the cause of this body's existence. Similarly, the Lord as Garbhodakasaya Vishnu, as the super soul of the universe, enters into each and every universe, and he makes all these universes float in the space, and they all float. Otherwise, how can they float? In fact, our universe is supposed to be the smallest. So there are universes which are much more bigger than ours and are much more larger than ours in dimension. This also explained in the Shastras in Srimad Bhagavatam. So from Sri Mahavishnu, the Lord expands as Garbhodakasaya Vishnu and enters into each and every universe as the super soul. Further, the Lord expands as Kshirodakasaya Vishnu and enters into each and every living entity in all the universes as the Paramatma feature. As Paramatma is all pervading throughout the entire material manifestation. So this is how the entire material world is created. So ours is the smallest. There is a verse in Brahma Samhita where Lord Brahma prays, Yakkaranarnava jale bhajatisma yoga nidram ananda jagadanda roma kupaha adhara shaktim avalambya param sumurtim govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. So Brahma says, I adore that primeval Lord Govinda, who assuming his own great subjective form, who bears the name of Shesha, replete with all the accommodating potency and reposing in the causal ocean with the infinity of the world, the force of his air, enjoys creative sleep. So the Lord also sleeps like us. That means Sri Mahavishnu, he has what is called a yoga nidra. Now his nidra or his sleep is transcendental in nature. For example, when we sleep, we are fully asleep. Our consciousness is fully in as good as standstill. Body may be active, but the consciousness as standstill. We don't have any activity during sleep. But in the case of Sri Mahavishnu, his sleep is called Yoga Nidra, and he is active. So even at that time, this creation takes place. That is what is Brahma praying. And the innumerable number of universes coming out of the pores of his body. Now, from the navel of the Garbhodakasaya Vishnu sprouts a lotus flower, and from that stem of that lotus flower comes Lord Brahma, who enters into the universes and starts a secondary creation, and he is the one who gives various forms to the various living entities. That means there are living entities in each and every universe, and each and every universe is composed of so many planetary systems. As far as this universe is concerned, which is supposed to be the smallest, it is mentioned in the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad-gītā that there are 14 levels of planetary systems, 7 above and 7 down. So we are in the center, and it is also given that Satyaloka is the topmost planetary system where Lord Brahma is residing. Now, from this, Lord Brahma, he starts giving secondary creation, that is, he gives forms to various living entities in each and every universe. So that means there are living entities in every universe also, and there are living entities in every planet also. As far as science is concerned, even they say that even in this universe, there are living entities in sun, there are living entities in the moon. But Srimad Bhagavatam explains as to how there are living entities in all the planets, in all the universes, and they are all there based on the living conditions in each of those planets. For example, the living condition in sun is different, the living conditions in moon is different. But there are living entities in each of these planets. They need not have a human form of life. We know that the predominating deity of sun is called Surya. Similarly, the moon is called Chandra. There are demigods in charge of all these planetary systems. Like that, we have planets like Venus, Jupiter, and so forth. Each and every planet is governed by one demigod, and Brahma, Lord Brahma, is the supreme predominating deity of the entire material creation because he's a secondary cause, Lord Krishna being the original first cause. So, Lord Brahma, who is also a living entity, he is also not free from the cycle of birth and death. Of course, as we go to the higher planets, disease is not there, old age is not there. It is mentioned that when one reaches his lifespan, he leaves his body immediately. So that means there is no old age and disease. So Brahma does not go through that, but Brahma also has to take birth and he also has a lifespan. So he also sees death. The second sloka, there is a mention that at the beginning of Brahma's day, there's one more point, elevated sannyasis, that means there are many elevated living entities, they are promoted to Brahmaloka, which is the topmost planet in the universe, and which survives some stages of annihilation. But the inhabitants and Brahma are also, in Brahmaloka, are also subject to death and the loss of material nature. In text number 18, there is a mention that at the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest from the unmanifest state, and thereafter, when the night falls, they are merged into unmanifest again. That, like we have a day, we have a night. Brahma also has days and nights, as I mentioned. Now, at the end of Brahma's day, there is a partial annihilation. At the end of now, Brahma, one day, is ruled by 14 Manus. We are all Manu, origins of Manu. That means Manu are the origin of mankind. So there are 14 Manus in a day of Brahma. At the end of day of one Manu, there is a partial devastation. Then at the end of Brahma's day, there is also a partial devastation. And at the end of Brahma's life, there is a total annihilation. So when Brahma's day comes to an end, all living entities become unmanifested. That we all are manifest now in various forms of life. We as human beings, some are creatures, some are birds. So many forms are given by Brahma. That means we have got a manifested form. So when the creation takes place, all the living entities have a manifested form and from the unmanifest state. So when the unmanifest state is one, when the Lord is sleeping, all the living entities enter into Mahavishnu's body and they are there in a dormant state. The material body will not be there because at the end of annihilation, the body will completely be destroyed with earth, water, fire, air, ether and all entering into of the body material body, entering into the earth, water, fire, air and ether of the creation. So at that time, only all these will be dismantled. Just like, for example, you have an engine. You have an engine composed of hundreds and thousands of parts. So it is all assembled. So similarly, our body is also assembled by Lord Brahma with all the elements that are given, material and spiritual elements given by Lord Krishna. That is what is called manifested state. And when we die, what happens is that the living entity, that is the spirit soul, enters into another body depending upon our desire, our karma, etc. If we have a desire to enjoy material opulence, we may be elevated to heavenly planets. If we live like an animal, we may be degraded to a hellish planet. So the body again is dismantled, and again at the time of our death, the living entity, the soul, enters into another body. So this cycle goes on for us, and similarly for all the living entities in all the material creation throughout the material universes. So this is how they are manifested and again unmanifested. So they are manifested at the time of creation, at the time of annihilation, they are all unmanifested. When they are unmanifested, they all enter into the body of Garbhodakasaya Vishnu. At the final unmanifested state, they are all placed in a dormant state. That means they are all in a sleeping state. The living entities are put into a sleeping state in Mahavishnu's body. So this is how manifestation, that is creation, takes place. And then when there is an annihilation, the unmanifestation takes place also. So as long as we stay in this material world, we are also manifest and unmanifest in various forms in various bodies. And so there is we go to text number 19, which says that again and again, when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being, and with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated. So when Brahma's day starts, we all are manifest in various forms. And when Brahma's night arrives, we are helplessly annihilated. We must understand this helplessly annihilated means we have no control on our birth and death. Yes, but we have a control on our desire, our the desire to enjoy. Actually, as living entities being part and parcel of the Supreme Lord or the Super Soul, our constitutional position is to be enjoyed by the Lord. That means we are meant to be enjoyed by the Lord, just as uh, children are to be enjoyed by the Father. Similarly, we are all children of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. But if the children think, like we see in today, not many, most of the occasions, the children want to be independent. We don't want to interfere with the independent mood of our children. Similarly, the Lord does not interfere with the free will that He has given to us. So if we have a desire to enjoy separately, the Lord gives us that freedom. And He also gives us these guidelines through Sadhu, Shastra, and Guru to understand the scriptures. And why these things are mentioned in the scripture means, that means why this creation and annihilation specifically is given in Bhagavad-gītā and Srimad Bhagavatam is for us to understand that there is something higher than this. I meant higher this in the material world. We are Asat, Achit, and Durananda. Asat means we have birth and we have deceit. And Achit means we don't have knowledge. Our knowledge is as good as zero. And particularly in Kali Yuga, the tendency to understand spiritual knowledge is rather non-existent. And we are not blissful, we are not happy in this life. But on the other hand, there is a something higher called the spiritual world, which is also consisting of many thousand millions of spiritual planets. There are millions of planets even in the spiritual world where there is no, the living entities are living. And those living entities have no birth. They are all Satchidananda. Sat means they don't have birth, they don't have death. They are Chit means they are full of knowledge of the Lord, full of spiritual knowledge. And they are full of Ananda. Ananda means they are full of bliss. So the living entities in the spiritual world are full of Satchidananda. They don't have any distress like what we see in the material world. So the Lord is giving us an understanding of these matters again and again through the scriptures, through acharyas, through gurus, through the devotees of the Lord. That's why it is said Sadhu, Shastra, and Guru. That there is something higher. And if one does not take the process of higher this thing, we all go through Bhutva Praliyate. That means we manifest during the day and they are unmanifest in the night. But really intelligent persons are those who take to this Krishna consciousness and become free from the suffering in this material world and free from the cycle of birth and death. And they attain to one of the spiritual planets in the spiritual world and be there serving the Lord, which is our constitutional position. When we serve the Supreme Lord, which is our duty, which for which we are meant to be doing, we also become free from the cycle of birth and death, and we are also full of knowledge. And it is said that even in this material world, by taking up to the devotional service, which is the process of serving the Lord, we can attain this Satchidananda process. That means we can become free from the cycle of birth and death, and we can also be situated fully in knowledge, and also we can be blissful. So the knowledge is given for us to understand that we have our constitutional position. And by understanding this position and taking up to devotional service, we can also attain this position of Satchidananda. Otherwise, we are manifested again with the day of Brahma and unmanifested again, and this process goes on and on and on. So with this, I conclude the class for the day. For the next 1 minute, I can take 1 or 2 questions if anybody, or comments if anybody has got it.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for the
Hare Krishna,
wonderful
Mataji.
class.
Thank you, Mataji.
Prabhuji, from Mahavishnu, you said when he exhales, universes come out.
Yes.
So it is from both the exhalation as well as from the pores, from the skin pores as well as.
When he exhales, the sweat comes out of Mahavishnu's pores of the body in the form of bubbles. When
not from the nose, not from the nose.
No. And when he inhales, they enter into the body of Sri Mahavishnu.
Through the same pores?
Yes.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. Anybody else? Okay.
One more question, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji, yes, Mataji, tell me.
That during during the annihilation, all the universes go back into Mahavishnu.
Yes,
This is not in the partial annihilation. Do they go into the Mahavishnu?
yes, they go into Garbhodakasaya Vishnu.
Partial annihilation.
Yes, yes.
And in the complete annihilation, even the Garbhodakasaya Vishnu goes into Mahavishnu.
Yes, yes. The way
Okay,
they
Prabhu.
all emanate, they all enter back into the same way.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Somebody has put a message. Can you ask me? Because 1 second, let me check. Does even Brahma also get annihilated during Vishnu inhalation? Yes, Brahma also has got death. That is why Brahma also enters into the body of Shri Mahavishnu. Is it clear, Mataji?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Prabhu, like the people who get who go back to Godhead, they're not annihilated. No,
Yes.
they go straight, or
The
even they
material
get
body will be
annihilated.
annihilated, but when they go to the spiritual world, they go in a spiritual form, that is the original form. The spirit soul within us, that goes to the spiritual world.
No, okay, even the pure devotees, like at that particular time, they will get annihilated, Prabhuji. Or
There
like
is
at
no
the end of Brahma,
annihilation.
like in their partial annihilation, everybody enters into Garbhodaya Vishnu, right? So everybody enters into it.
Yes, I mean, pure devotees of the Lord sometimes come from the spiritual planets to deliver conditioned souls like us. They are originally from the spiritual planet, they will go back to the spiritual planets. Material body may go, but their spirit soul will enter back to the spiritual planets.
To the spiritual, but even the spiritual planets are getting annihilated, no, Prabhuji. Even
no,
Brahma,
there is no annihilation. There is
no
no
annihilation
creation.
for spiritual. Yeah, okay,
No, there is no
annihilation
creation. There is no annihilation in spiritual planets.
Right. Okay, they go back to the spiritual. Only the material body gets into this.
Yes.
And soul gets into the ones who are not this thing. Our souls also get into.
Can you clear your question? What is your question? In the spiritual world, there is no creation, there is annihilation. The spirit soul enters in the spiritual planets, not the material body. But there is also a spiritual form. That's why we have got a perverted reflection of what is existing in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, there are many forms of life. So whatever we see here, there are perverted reflections that are existing in the spiritual world.
Like जैसे हमारे soul, even our souls get like they stay. No, even our souls also get annihilated. No, Prabhu. Like if I don't know if I'm able to put it across. I myself is.
I don't know what is your question. Our soul doesn't die.
No. I'm asking, like during the time of annihilation, like we are in the cycle of repeated birth and death. So correct. We go back. The material body goes back. Does the soul also get annihilated?
There is no annihilation for the soul. The soul enters into another form of life depending upon our karma and desire. Like I mentioned, if our activities are pious, if we take up the devotional service and surrender, the soul goes back to the spiritual world. But if we have a desire to, if we have not performed fully the devotional service, it takes up another form of life in this material world itself, whether here or the higher planets or lower planets.
But what happens to the soul during the time of annihilation, Prabhuji? For
condition, soul does not get annihilated, it enters into the body of Garbhodakasaya Vishnu.
Actually, Tirtha,
okay. Which is spiritual? Garbhodakasaya Vishnu is spiritual.
Garbhodakasaya Vishnu, all the Vishnus are temporary manifestations only in the material world. In the spiritual world, they are different. What we hear in the Shastras, Shiva Vishnu or Garbhodakasaya Vishnu or Kshirodakasaya Vishnu are only for the temporary material manifestations for material creation. The other Vishnus that are in the spiritual world, 400 forms, they are different. from what we hear about the material creation.
Chaitanya Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, 1 or 2 days back, I was reading. I don't know whether it is from CC or Bhagavad-gītā or Bhagavatam. It was written that annihilation time, every that who has to go to with their karma, they enter the through porous of the karma, annihilated the
yes, whatever desire we have, if we have not surrendered to the Lord, with that desire we will enter, and takes place. We come out.
Who has to go in with their karma, they will again go in the cycle of birth. Actually,
yeah, they will come out again at the time of creation with the same desire.
Yeah, they will come out at the time of creation, and again they will go back to Godhead. So has to go back to Godhead, they will go back to Godhead.
Those who are devotees of the Lord will go back to the spiritual world.
Yeah, they will go back to Godhead.
Yeah, but those who have desires.
Yes, correct. Yes, correct.
Those who have desires,
that is a kind of,
the body of.
Again, they have to go back to God. Again.
So only when they become, even if somebody goes to a higher planet like Brahma Loka, if Brahma is delivered, and those who become devotees of the Lord of Brahma, they also get delivered. But if Brahma has to come back, then his followers also have to come back. So unless and until one becomes completely free from all the material desires of enjoyment, one cannot enter the spiritual world. So even a small desire that somebody has got, they have to remain in this material world. So at the time of annihilation, all the living entities enter with their desires into the body of Shri Mahavishnu. And again, when the new creation starts, they come back with the original desires that they all had. So Brahma also gives living entities forms to fulfill those desires.
Yes, bro.
That means we should be completely free of desires, Prabhuji.
Not only it is not possible to become desireless, but we can see that we have a desire to only to serve the Lord. That is the will of the Lord. So as long as we have a desire and completely give up material desires and only serve only the Lord without any motivation. That means it is clearly mentioned in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that one's service should be unmotivated and uninterrupted, which is our constitutional position. So when we reach that stage, then we attain what is called love of Godhead. So if we attain the love of Godhead, one can attain to the spiritual planets. Otherwise, one has to remain in this material world.
Even like clicking a photograph of the rose plant in your garden, that is also desire, Prabhuji?
No, no. As long as the plant is used in the service of the Lord, it is not a material desire.
No, I click a photo and I share with my friends. That is, what is that called?
I don't know what is the purpose of clicking. See, the clicking photograph and circulation is a disease that people have got today. Many people think that they are in the WhatsApp group, so they think that they have to share. People who receive also don't like it.
Okay, but my friends like it. I mean, I like to share a good morning wish with a beautiful photograph.
Instead of wishing good morning, why don't you say Hare Krishna? That is becomes spiritual.
Yeah, but there is a Muslim person in the group, Prabhuji, so he might feel offended.
It's okay. If he's in the group, he wants to be in that group because he's expecting something good from you. So instead of saying good morning,
in the heart of hearts, I feel I imagine Hare Krishna and I wish them, but through my heart. But I'll send some picture like that.
Give some spiritual information, no? Otherwise, why do you want to be part of that group?
Okay, Prabhuji, because there are Christians, Muslims, and all those people, my seniors.
You can preach to them.
And okay.
The purpose of being in a group.
Good morning, Hare Krishna.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Sorry, can I say something? The Muslims never hesitated to say Allah Hafiz and all that. Why do we hesitate? Like it, I mean, they will like it. You know, you can say good morning, Hare Krishna, something like that. You can make a start.
There's nothing wrong. That's what I said. You can say instead of saying good morning. If you have to say good morning, say Hare Krishna, good morning. That's all.
Yeah, very true.
Okay, I'll do that, Prabhuji. But in the heart of my hearts, I mean it as Hare Krishna. And with that feeling, I will send Prabhuji.
So if you say only good morning, they will also get used to say good morning only. You say Hare Krishna, good morning. And
Okay.
you can, the thing is, you must explain to them what is this Hare Krishna. You are addressing the Lord in their heart.
Yes, Prabhuji. Okay, okay. And this is actually dovetailing my desire with as a service to God. The small
Yes.
thing as a token,
Yes.
dovetail everything that you do.
When you start this exercise, gradually you will also reach a stage when you will be able, you are convinced yourself. Now you may not be fully convinced. That's why you are thinking good morning is also a part of your life. But when you are convinced, you'll be able to convince others also why you say Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Anybody else? Somebody has posted a question in the chat. Is there a cycle? Is this cycle of infinite and continuous? Yes, that is what is there in the verse number 719. That the cycle of creation and devastation is an ongoing process in this material world. Anybody else? Any other questions, comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
The same like the Mataji was telling, I too wish somebody and I would say that God bless you, but at the last I feel like saying Hare Krishna. I don't know whether they
Please do that.
So I feel it like whether they accept it or not, and I'll say in my inner itself, and I'll say only God bless you and Hare Krishna in my mind itself.
Why should you always think what the other person thinks?
Okay, okay.
You do your duty.
Okay. Okay.
You do
okay.
your duty.
Sure, sure, sure. Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mataji. One more question has been posted. I'm not able to see the question. It means to say that we have some unconditioned, unsatisfied soul always. Yes, we are all conditioned souls. Those in the spiritual world are rendering unconditional, unmotivated service to the Lord, which is our original constitutional position. The Lord is the supreme father of all, and he fulfills the desires of the living entities in the spiritual world. So the spiritual world is like a desire tree. And what we see in the material world is a perverted reflection of what is there. There, the living entities have their natural inclination to serve the Lord. But here we want to enjoy separately from the Lord. That's why we are called as conditioned living entities in the world. Is it clear? Any other questions? Any other comments?
Prabhuji, of the 24 elements, we have the 20, we have 5 Panchamahabhutas, 5 working senses, 5 intelligent senses, 5 sense objects, they are 20. Then mind, intelligence, false ego is the subtle body.
Okay.
There is one more thing called the unmanifest. What is that, Prabhuji?
See, what happens is that the 3 modes of material are unmanifest initially. Like I described, while we see the manifestation and unmanifestation, but when the creation takes place, the time agitates this unmanifested state, and they become goodness, passion, and ignorance. They are manifest in these 3 forms.
So the 24th element is the unmanifest, and that becomes agitated and correct?
Yeah, in some places there is a mention as time. In some places there is mention of modes of material as material nature. The point is that if it is material nature, it is an unmanifested state. And then time as a material form agitates this material nature, and they becomes manifested, from unmanifested to manifest.
And then that's how. So 25th element is Kala, and there is another one element, I don't know which one. There are total 26, no?
Actually, the soul is also there in that total creation.
Correct.
But from you look at the material point of view, it is material nature that is unmanifested, but agitated by time, it becomes manifest. So there are mention of time as 24th elements in some places, and there are mention of material nature in some places. Both are correct. There's nothing wrong in it.
Okay, so the extra 3 are time, unmanifest, and soul. So total 26.
No. I mean, 5 and 3, 8 plus 15, 23, and the 24th element is time or material nature.
That's all.
That's all. And the living entity is spiritual.
Soul, the soul doesn't come into this.
Yeah, soul is spiritual in nature. But when you see the material, the form of the body, then soul comes into the 24th element.
Okay.
You understand this thing in the creation?
Yeah, it has a material part and spiritual part. The spiritual part is the soul. In the material part, we have 24 elements.
Material creation, we have that along with the 23rd element, we have the material nature, which is agitated by time.
Okay, very clear, Prabhuji.
From unmanifest to manifest. So we don't separate it. At one point, it is unmanifested, but time agitates it and makes it manifest.
When we get into the life, it becomes manifest. The unmanifested comes into manifest when we get the life.
Yes, otherwise it's in a dormant state, it is unmanifest.
Thank you so much. I understood it very clearly. Yes, thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Any other questions, comments? I don't see any more questions. So with this, I conclude the class for the day.